How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? This is Mike Prince with the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We have on the line with us right now a young man who's had an abrupt end to his season, but we're still going to be faithful and tried and true. And welcome back to the show, brother Shotgun Willie Simmons. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fairly well considering, Mike.
I do understand, and when you say considering, you lost in what was the finale game of the season, but not projected to be the finale game of the season against Bethune-Cookman. Give us a recap on how things ended up what they were, and we'll move on from there.
Well, again, we went into the Florida Classic knowing that a win in that game, solidified us as MEAC champs, possibly co-champs, depending on what happened in the A&T game. And obviously, they beat North Carolina Central, so on paper we would have been MEAC co-champs, but because of our head-to-head victory with them, we would have represented the MEAC in the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl. So, a lot of excitement headed into the game. Obviously, we weren't playing our best ball in the month of November. We'd already dropped two straight. Obviously, won the Howard, with a chance to clinch the championship that week. We went up there and didn't take care of business. Then the next week came home for our home finale against South Carolina State, which, because of Hampton's early, uh, I guess, dismissal or whatever you want to call it from the MEAC, for that game was a non-conference game, and we dropped that one as well. Held some guys out to try to get them hopefully back for the Florida Classic. But went into the game for the first time all season. I thought the injury bug kind of took its toll on us, and South Carolina State was probably the most physical game that we had played all season, and I really think that game might have beaten us twice. We went into that game, we had some energy, had some life, had some early opportunities, I thought, to take advantage of the game and really kind of blow it open, and just didn't capitalize. And had a few guys do some things that, again, cost you in big games. When you play those type of games, especially rivalry games, your playmakers have to show up, and you have to make sure that you don't go out and beat yourself. And looking at the film, we had a few opportunities to, like I said, blow the game open, and we just didn't execute the way that we had executed at times during the season. So, all in all, again, proud of the guys. We did something here that hadn't been done in a long time. First winning season here since 2011, brought some excitement back to Florida A&M football, made us relevant again, and those were some of my goals of coming in. Obviously, I'm a perfectionist, and I want to win championships and be the best team in any conference that I'm a part of. But I do understand that it's a building block, and we've laid the foundation here. And I think that if we continue to trust this process, not only as a football team, but as a fan base and as an administration, we can put the pieces together to bring FAMU back to national prominence. Because I do think that the ingredients is here. We just have to all collectively put our heads together, continue to grind out together, and believe in this thing together, and I think it'll get done.
Speaking right now with Shotgun Willie Simmons, head football coach of the FAMU Rattlers, the losers of three in a row to end out the season, with great expectations, a steady start throughout the year. Do you feel that the Fam Nation were a bit critical toward the end with how things ended up, or do you feel like it was just criticism?
Well, no, I mean, I think the expectation level here at Florida A&M has always been high, and rightfully so. You're part of one of the most storied programs in all of college football, especially here at the black college level. I mean, you talk about 13 black college national championships, multiple MEAC and SIAC championships, multiple Hall of Famers and all NFL players and legendary coaches. And so the expectation here at Florida A&M University has always been extremely high for the football team, for the Marching 100, our infamous band, for many of our sports. And so I understood that when I took this job. I understood that people were tired of losing. Again, the program like FAMU having a 7-year losing streak is unheard of. And so coming in, I think there's the majority of the fan base, the vast majority, uh, they're excited. They're optimistic about the direction of this program. They see the improvements that we made in year one. They see the guys playing with a lot more passion, with a lot more effort. They see them out in the community, doing great things outside of football. And those are all the things that make FAMU a special place. Yes, they want to win football games and championships, but they also want to see these young men do great things outside of the game, and that's something that I've committed myself to doing here. So, yes, should they be disappointed that we dropped our final three games? Yes, I'm disappointed. I think everyone affiliated with the program is disappointed, and we would have loved to get one of those two wins that we needed to secure our first conference championship in 7 years. But again, I think everyone sees the direction that this program is headed in. I think if we continue to work hard together, like I said earlier, and to collectively put our heads together and do the things that it needs to do to push the program forward, because again, it takes more than a good X and O guy to build a championship caliber program, and I think that's the misconception when you look at college athletics. Coaches get fired. This is the time of year where coaches are getting fired. Every day, and I think the common fan thinks it's just about your ability to call a good offense or a good defense, or your ability to manage a football game, or whatever the case may be. But I mean, to build a championship caliber program, I mean, you have to fund it, because again, we're dealing with millennials now, and millennials like to see new things, popping things, visual things, and you got to upgrade facilities. You have to eat good food and travel, first class, and show these millennials the things that they like to see, and that's something that I think as HBCUs and low resource institutions that we have to be willing to commit ourselves to. If we want to say we want to compete at the highest level, we got to be willing to invest the money that a James Madison invest in football, or North Dakota State invest in football. All those programs that have really taken their program to higher levels, they put the money into it. And if we want to do that and compete at that level, it's going to take more than me calling great plays on Saturday to make that happen. But I think FAMU Nation understands that. Again, I hope the expectation stays high. I hope they're never content with a 6-5 season, or first winning season in 7 years. I hope that that's never good enough, because as long as that's not the standard, I think we have a chance to get better, because to get better, we all have to do better.
All right. Once again, we're speaking with Shotgun Willie Simmons. You just hit on something that I think is very, very critical, and not just at a FAMU situation, but an HBU across the board situation or circumstances, if you want to identify it as such. When you make the reference to the facilities upgrade and the funding of necessary, percentage wise, just percentage wise for your scenario, what percentage do you think of increase would help in the direction of those areas that you were speaking of as far as funding and facilities for your FAMU situation?
Well, I mean, I'm not smart enough to put it in percentage terms, but I'll put it to you this way. In order for us to have a facility that gives us a chance to rival a Troy University, a Georgia State University, a Florida International, a Florida Atlantic, you're talking about a couple of $1 million at least, to upgrade this facility that we're currently in. I mean, the Gallimore Power Fieldhouse was built in 1983, and there hasn't been many improvements or renovations done to this facility since that time. So you're talking about almost 30 years. We're over 30 years. I was born in the 80s, so I'm 38. So 35 years, not many significant upgrades to this facility. And we use the analogy all the time. You have a house. If you don't do any upkeep and upgrades to your house in 30 years, what's it going to look like? It's not going to look like the same house you purchased back in the 80s. It's going to be run down. It's going to be, you're going to need new plumbing. You're going to need a new roof. You're going to need new floors and new tiles and, new refrigerator, and all those things over the course of that time. So in order for us to move this program to newer heights, to where we all want it to be, we have to understand that that's what it takes. And again, you hate to use the examples of the Power 5 schools and places like that, but I went to Clemson. When I go to Clemson today, and I try to get there as much as I can, because I still have a lot of friends there and coaches there, that facility looks nothing like it did when I went there in 1999. Nothing. They're not even in the same building. When I got there, we were in the same building with all the other sports. We all shared a weight room. We all shared a training room. We all shared an equipment room. Now they have a multi-year $1 million facility at the base of the stadium that's been built in the last 15, 16 years. And they've taken their program to the next level. University of Alabama didn't have the facilities today that they had when Nick Saban. They have better facilities today than they had when Nick Saban got there, 10, 12 years ago. And so those programs have even made the commitment. Florida State University, right across the street, they're in discussions now of trying to, to get the funds to build them a multi-million-dollar facility because they understand to keep up with Clemson, you got to build. Clemson can't get they're on a different level. If you want to compete with those guys, you got to do that. Prairie View has taken their athletic department to another level with the new facility. Alabama State has taken their athletic department to another level with their facilities. North Carolina A&T and many other places, even Bethune-Cookman, just announced that they opening up a new athletic facility. So if we at FAMU want to stay relevant and stay competitive with our counterparts, we have to be willing to do the same thing. And there's some significant costs associated with that, but I do think that we have the ability to do it. We just have to make the people who have the influence or who have the ability to do it understand the value and importance of it. And when they do, then we can begin the process of getting it done.
Okay, now you just said a whole lot, man, and I'm gonna try to summarize this. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for just a moment. You know I'm good at that anyway. What to the naysayer that was says facilities has nothing to do with performance on the field, has nothing to do with decisions that are being made, and someone would say that just sounds like an excuse. What's your response to that?
Okay, well, my response to that would be athletics is not the only entity on a college campus that's competing for the best and the brightest. I think we can all agree to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's use Prairie View for example. I think we can both use that because we you're there and I was there the last 3 years. Prairie View has one of the top engineering schools in that region. We agree to that, right?
I would say nation, but I'll take region for right now.
Okay, in the nation. Let's even go that far and say the nation. Who makes them the best school for one of the best schools for engineering in the nation?
You would have to be a combination of faculty and the students
Right,
combined.
but they rank it based on students, right, and their
Yes, sir.
success.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you don't, do you think you can attract a kid who wants to be an engineer to come to Prairie View if they don't have the technology that they would need to see to make them feel like they would be prepared to go to the real world and be a great engineer?
I don't believe you could. No, sir.
Right. So it's the same thing. So in order for a FAMU to attract the great pharmacists, which our pharmacy school is one of the top in the country, for Prairie View to attract a great engineer, for a Texas Southern to recruit a great law student, whatever the case may be, you have to show them things that make them feel like if I come be a part of this, I will be prepared for whatever's next. If we want to have a great football team, obviously we have to have great what? Players. No team wins without good players. People can say what they want. There's a reason that Alabama is the top team in the country. They probably have the top quarterback in the nation right now. They probably have multiple first-round draft picks right now at all positions. They recruit five-star athletes every single year. Same thing with Clemson. Same thing with Ohio State and all other top programs. And so for us to field a championship level football team, we have to have championship level student athletes. The only way to do that is to attract them here. How can we attract them if we don't have the facilities that they look at and say, okay, if I come be a part of that program for 4 or 5 years, I can prepare myself for what's next, which all of these guys want to go to where?
To
To
the
the NFL.
NFL. Yes, sir.
So if I go to a place and the weight room it's a small weight room and they don't have many platforms in there and they don't have the up-to-date technology in there for weights, if there's no nutrition station for me to supplement the 3 meals I get a day because I'm lifting all these weights, I'm running at 6 in the morning, I'm practicing for 3 hours a day. If I don't have any extra meals to supplement everything I take out of my body, if I don't have a state-of-the-art training facility that can make my body help my body recover with hyperbaric chambers and all these new up-to-date things that they have for student athletes and for athletes in today's society, why would I go to that school? Why? Because my mom went to school there? Because my dad or my uncle or next door neighbor said it was a great school? Because they said they take care of you? No, it takes more than that. That was good enough back maybe when you came out. Even so it was a
Yeah,
jab. But even
that was a little jab, man. I'm gonna take that
when
one.
I came but and again, I use myself as a prime example. I was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. My mother graduated from Florida A&M University. My uncle, 5 of my aunts and uncles graduated from Florida A&M University. My godmother went to school here. My god brother played football here for Ken Riley. My godmother had gone and talked to everybody that she knew to try to get me every academic scholarship known to mankind to come to FAMU, because her one dying wish was that I went to the Florida A&M University, not just to be a football player, but to just be a student at Florida A&M, because everybody that I grew up around, Florida A&M made great. They couldn't get a sniff from me. Why? Because I had scholarship offers from schools that could offer me more, that can give me better facilities, that can ensure that I got a full scholarship, that can ensure that I flew places and didn't have to get on buses and drive for 6, 7, 8 hours, to ensure that I went to bowl games and got bowl gifts, and now even look at it, take it a step further. Now I get cost of attendance. So on top of my full scholarship, I can get an extra $600, $700, $800 a month for living expenses. We don't give that here, and so we're expected to compete at a level that's equal to our PWI counterparts, and we're not doing the same things that our PW counterparts are doing. And so we can't be naive enough to feel like we can consistently compete at a level conducive to winning with those guys. Yes, we've done it. A&T's 2 years in a row have gone to beat FBS programs. Howard went on the road and beat the FBS program. Prairie View this year had Rice on the ropes. So it can be done, but to consistently build a program that we all feel comfortable with, that could go to the playoffs. That's always been a discussion of whether SWAC, MEAC schools should go back into the playoffs. Well, if you go into the playoff system, James Madison spends about $40 million on athletics a year. The highest probably is Alabama State. They spend about 15 in Black College. North Dakota State spends upwards of $30 million on athletics. I mean, so the people that we're going into the playoffs to compete against are spending double in athletics and in football what we're spending. So how are we asked to compete consistently with those if that's what we're doing? And again, you can listen to this and think it's excuse making all you want, but numbers are numbers. And if we're only spending $8 million in athletics, and other people are spending 30 and 40, I don't see how you can justify us competing consistently with them. And now we're going to coach our butt off. I think those coaches in the SWAC and the MEAC are better than the majority of the coaches at those other schools. I'll put the minds in. I'll put a Broderick Fobbs and a Dawson Odoms and a Fred McNair and a Sam Washington and a Mike London before he left, and Terry Sims or Willie Simmons. I put all of us in any room with any coach at James Madison, at South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Sam Houston State, wherever you name. I'll put any of us in a room with them, and I think we'll hold our own with them because we know just as much football, if not more. We have a better relationship with people that look like us, talking about young black men, than they do. And I think we can get them to play harder for us. And so, but we have to have help at the end of the day. And so we're going to continue to fight the good fight. But again, I think the alumni, the fans, we have to be willing to make the commitment. And that's what it is. It's a commitment. It's an investment. You have to be willing to invest to say, if I give a little bit more to help these facilities, to help the infrastructure, to ensure that our student athletes are able to get the things that they can get other places, then I think they'll be willing to. I think they'll be able to consistently perform at the level that we're all accustomed to. And that's all. That's all. Every coach, I think, if you ask any coach in the MEAC or the SWAC, is asking, is that we make the same commitment to athletics as we do to our engineering schools, our architecture schools, our business schools, our pharmacy schools, and all those other things, because they are our students. At the end of the day, these are our students. They do represent our university in a first-class manner, and they still deserve the same treatment, as everyone else. And that's just, that's my 2 cents for the year.
Well, it's more like a nickel, but I'm happy with your response. We're talking right now with Willie Shotgun Simmons, head football coach of FAMU. I heard something, Shotgun, and I'm going to ask you this question, just as candid as you've been. Do you feel that maybe the MEAC and the SWAC conferences are in over their heads trying to be Division One, or would they be better at a Division Two status?
I really don't, Mike. And this is the reason I'll say this. I look at the landscape of college football. The FBS Division One obviously is split into two subdivisions. You have the FBS Football Bowl subdivision, which encompasses all of your Power Five conferences: the Big Ten, Big 12, Pac 12, ACC, SEC. those five, and then your group of six, and then you have FCS, which obviously the SWAC, MEAC, and then your Southland Conference, OVC, Southern Conference. A lot of those are part of. Well, with the expansion that happened, I think about 6, 7, whatever it was, a while back, the Power 5 conferences usually had about 10 teams. Well, they all went to 14. I think some of them may even gone up to 16, but most of them are right around 14. So what they had to do was they had to pull some schools from the quote-unquote mid-major level. In ACC, for example, Louisville went up. They used to be Conference USA. Connecticut, not Syracuse, but there were some lower level schools that ended up making the jump to the ACC. Same thing with the Big Ten, same thing with all those conferences. And so what the group of 6 conferences ended up doing is they started to look and see, okay, well, what FCS programs are in a position to make that transition? So look at the Sun Belt, for example. Troy University, Georgia Southern, App State, South Alabama, Louisiana Monroe, all Texas State. All those started out as what?
FCS.
FCS programs.
Mm-hmm.
So they were at the same level 20, 15 years ago as a FAMU, as a Prairie View, as a Jackson State, as a Grambling. But they had a strategic plan to say, we want to take our program to the next level. And they started to slowly begin to build their program to be prepared to make that jump when the time was necessary. And I did a small cost analysis, and it probably wasn't too in depth, but I just looked at the schools in the Sun Belt. I think it was 12 at the time. And I pulled up their enrollment, and I pulled up their endowment. Today, right now, FAMU would have the 5th highest endowment in the Sun Belt if we were in that conference. Our endowment is higher than Troy's. Our endowment is higher than Georgia Southern. It's higher than Coastal Carolina. It's higher than all of them. I think Texas State has a really high one. Georgia State has a really high one. But the rest of them are lower than FAMU's. And so if we've raised that much money to have a $125, $30 million endowment, why can't we invest the same type of money in athletics? And that's what all those schools did. They just made a decision that they wanted to take their program to the next level. It's not that they had any more money than we had. It's not that they are in a better financial situation than we are. It's just that they were willing to make the commitment to say they wanted to make sure their program was an FBS program. Do they have struggles? Yes. Do they have financial problems just like the rest of us? Yes. But they understand that that's a part of it, that they feel like their university will somehow be enhanced because their football program is now an FBS program. And that's what's happened at Georgia State. That's what's happened at Georgia Southern, at Troy. That's how they've been able to build those programs up to new heights. And I think not all of us can do it. Don't get me wrong. All of us aren't in the financial position to do it. But there's probably a large handful of us HBCUs that if we really just decided that, hey, we're going to make that commitment that in 5 years we're going to go be a part of the Sun Belt. We're going to go be a part of Conference USA. We can do it because you're looking at upgrading facilities just a little bit. Prairie View really doesn't have to do nothing. Their facilities would be on par with any Sun Belt team right now if they went into the conference. We would have to do some things. A lot of others have to do some things. Alabama State would have to do a thing to make that jump as far as facilities go. But you have to increase salaries. You have to increase scholarship numbers. You have to, do some things logistically to make it work. But again, if you decide collectively that that's the direction that you want to go in, the same as a Troy did, the same as a Texas State did, the same as a lot of those other schools did, who's to say we can't do it? And I think that's where the administration and everyone has to be on the same page. If they all get on the same page, I definitely think it can be done. So no, I don't think we're in over our heads. I don't think that we honestly need to go back and say, hey, we need to go back down to Division II, because truth be told, the only teams that don't operate at a deficit at the end of the year are about 30 Power 5 programs. That's it. The rest of them do. Florida State University, right here in Tallahassee, Florida, right next to us, operates at a deficit athletically. They spend more money than they make in athletics. The state of Florida has 13 schools that play football. Only one doesn't operate at a deficit, and that's the University of Florida. The other 12 all operate at a deficit. So they all spend more money then they bring in. The difference is the boosters make up the difference. So when Florida State is short a couple $1,000,000, their boosters kick in and they pay it off. When Central Florida is short a deficit, their boosters kick in and they pay it off. I'm sure the same happens at Houston. The same I'm sure happens at SMU. The same happens at Texas State and a lot of other programs where they made a commitment to their athletic program to say, okay, wherever y'all is short, we got you. And that's what happens. Texas doesn't have to do that. Texas A&M doesn't have to do that. But I guarantee you, they're probably the only two schools in the state of Texas that don't operate at a deficit. Everybody else in that state, just like everybody else, majority of the schools in the country that have college athletics, operate at a deficit. And that's just the reality of athletics. Even with multi-million-dollar contracts, the TV rights that we get, we still spend more money than we bring in. And so if we want to make that decision, make that jump, I think we can do it. We just have to all collectively put our heads together and say that's what we want to do, and we can do it. Because you mean to tell me we don't have some big-time hitters that can stroke some $50,000 checks or $100,000 checks if they want to? It's even some $1,000,000 checks if they want to. I guarantee we do, but they just got to be willing to make them feel like it's worth the investment, because we do. We have the best and the brightest. Prairie View, FAMU, a lot of these HBCUs graduate the best and the brightest that make real good money. I mean, I ain't calling anybody out, singling anybody out, but I mean, Alan Kennedy got a lot of money. She knows I love her. She knows I love her to death. And if she wanted to give $10 million to Prairie View for that athletic facility, she could do that.
Right.
But again, she's not the only one. And that's what those programs have found a way to do. They found a way to tap into those big time money people that have it to say, hey, instead of giving it to this or that, hey, give it to the football program, because the football program has it. They'll win a championship and it'll open up more doors for the university. Hey, give it to the basketball program, because we have a chance to make it to the Final Four this year, and if we do that, it'll bring more notoriety to the university. And that's what those programs have been able to do. So I know I'm getting long-winded with it, but I'm just passionate about our HBCUs, and I really think that we can all take that next step if we just, kind of change the paradigm a little bit of how we think about it and look at it and decide that we're going to place an emphasis on athletics. Invest in it, invest in our coaches, invest in our facilities, invest in our kids, because they're the ones that need it the most. And I think you'll see a Mike London stay at Howard as opposed to going to William and Mary. And I have a ton of respect for Mike London. I don't question his decision at all. But I think you'll see more coaches willing to stay at HBCUs if they felt they had the financial support that they would get at their white counterparts. And I think that's what a lot of it boils down to.
Well, you're hearing it straight from the source himself, Shotgun Willie Simmons. Passionate Shotgun Willie Simmons. Always has been. That's why it's always been a joy for us to keep in contact and exchange these dialogues that we share. A lot to digest and a lot more, I'm sure, to come. Simmons, I appreciate you, man, more than you'd ever know or realize. I appreciate you for your candidness. I appreciate you for your willingness. I appreciate you for your consistency, rain, sleet, snow, or shine. And I appreciate you. I know this was a tough time for you to come on and be on board with us. A lot of things that were panning out, not quite the way you designed it. But if it's the Willie Simmons that I've grown to know and to trust and respect, is that you're going to stay on the grind, you're going to stay focused, and you're going to figure this thing out. I am going to allow you to have some final thoughts and comments right now, and the floor is now yours.
Well, again, Mike, it's always a pleasure to be on the show, and I think you do a great job of bringing a lot of insight to a lot of key issues, and I think that's really what this is all about. And obviously, like you say, I'm real passionate about our HBCUs and what they do for our, not only just our African American contingency, but just society as a whole, and what athletics itself does for our youth. I truly believe that we're raising the future leaders of tomorrow. And when I look at this football team, when I look at the other athletes, the guys at Prairie View that I was able to coach, the guys at Alcorn that I was able to coach, I see a group of guys who can go out to be, future governors and mayors and politicians and teachers and police officers, whatever the case may be. They can do anything they put their minds to, and they show that every single Saturday when they go out there and risk their lives for a sport that really owes them nothing, and for the opportunity to do something for a university that's giving them a chance to better themselves. And so they've proven that they're resilient. They've proven that that they can overcome adversity, that they can defy insurmountable odds. Because without this game, many of them don't go to college. They don't have the opportunity to go because it's not even a vision most of them think they want until they get there. And so I'm just thankful for what this game has allowed me to see. I'm thankful for what it brings. Obviously, it really puts things in perspective when you have situations like this, when a championship is right there in arm's reach, and you don't reach it. It puts things in perspective because, like I told the staff today, this is the first time in 6 years that I've lost the last game of the season. I forgot what that feeling felt like. And I had this just knot in the pit of my stomach, and I couldn't understand where it came from. And finally, it hit me. It was like, you know what? And I just started counting back. My first year at Alcorn State was the very last time that I lost the last game of the regular season, and so but you know what? As bad as I felt, as crushed as I was, as disappointed as I woke up that next morning, Mike, and I rolled over, and right there was my wife. I rolled over again right there with my two beautiful kids looking right there at me. And it really just put things in perspective for me that this is so much bigger than wins and losses. Yes, in my job, I was hired here to bring victories to Florida A&M University, and I'm 100% confident that FAMU made the right decision because I do feel confident in my abilities that God has given me to lead this program. But again, it's so much bigger than that. And my thoughts immediately went to how can I help these guys continue to grow and develop? How can I help them with their public speaking? I'm sitting in the post-game press conference, with Marcus Williams, who's right beside me. And as he's giving his short one-word responses to the reporters, I'm thinking, how can I help him? How can I help him be able to really verbalize what he's feeling right now? How can I really help him to tell these people who've given him a platform? They could have picked one of any 64 players we traveled down to, but they picked him to be the voice of Florida A&M University in that moment to speak for the entire football team, and he didn't have the words to speak for himself or for his football team. How can I help him do that? Because at some point he's got to speak up for his family, he's got to speak up for his company, for his community, for his church, and he needs to be able to do that. He needs to be able to enunciate himself. He needs to be able to really sell himself and his ideas to whoever's listening. And that's what my job is as a football coach, beyond winning football games, because I'm just crazy enough to believe that if we teach them all those other things, the wins will come with it. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do. That's why I'm so thankful for this opportunity that I get to coach these guys every single day. That's why I'm really so thankful to you and your platform for allowing me to be a voice and get these ideas and things off my chest, because I do think they need to be discussed, in a public forum, not just between me and my athletic director, but publicly, that everyone needs to understand our position as coaches, the jobs that we're that we're entrusted with, the struggles that we have, all the things that come along with being a head coach at a historically black college or university. I think people need to understand that, and it's a tough job. We put in just as many hours as the guys across the street. I think Eric Dooley works just as long as Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. I know I work just as long as Willie Taggart over at Florida State for a fraction of the salary, for a fraction of the resources, and we're expected to do the same job. And so, but I guess all part of it, and I'm thankful for this opportunity. But again, we'll continue fighting the good fight. Like I said, we'll continue, doing our very best job to represent our institutions in the first-class manner. I'm confident that FAMU Nation is behind me. I know they're behind me. I know they're excited and they believe in what we're doing here. And our job has just begun. We're a young football team. We ushered out 14 seniors from yesterday, from last week's game, but we played about 20 to 25 freshmen in Saturday's game. So the future is very bright for Florida A&M University, and I'm just excited to be able to lead this program to newer heights, and with the support of our administration, our alumni fan base, the best fan base in America, and we'll continue pushing forward with this thing. But again, thanks as always, Mike. Of course, I'm always available anytime you want to start up another controversial conversation. And I love you, brother, and have a happy Thanksgiving. And tell the family, everybody, I say hello.
Hey, same here, my man. Look, I want to ask you this. We got the Bayou Classic coming up between Grambling and Southern. That winner, of course, will go on to take on North Carolina A&T. How about you?
Alcorn.
I mean, Alcorn. No, Alcorn. I'm thinking about the winner would take on Alcorn to take on North Carolina A&T. How about this? Once the championship has been determined, you and I get together and we'll break down the X's and the O's from both sides. Since you've coached in both of these conferences and you're still fresh with what the SWAC has to offer, you went head to head against North Carolina A&T, and we can make that a special edition. How about that?
Sounds good to me, brother.
All right, man. We appreciate you. Love you for your support, time, and all the efforts. He is Shotgun Willie Simmons. I am the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince. Our social media platforms are all the same at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. And, of course, the website is obnradio.com. And until the next time, you guys be blessed. We'll see you on the other side.